All right, Dub Nation, buckle up because today we need to talk about one of the wildest and most frustrating stories to come out of the NBA in a long time. What Adam Silver just said is the kind of thing that makes you stop, rewind, and ask yourself, did the commissioner of the league really just say that out loud? And yes, he really did. His message was basically this: if you cannot afford to pay for all the different streaming services and subscriptions that you now need just to follow the NBA, then too bad. Just stick to watching highlights. That's not only a tone-deaf statement. That is a flat-out insult to the fans who keep this entire league alive. Think about it for a second. The NBA has already made it increasingly difficult for average fans to simply tune in and watch their favorite teams play. Back in the day, you could flip on the TV and catch a game on cable or even local broadcasts. Now you need to juggle multiple subscriptions, keep track of blackout rules, and somehow manage to justify dropping hundreds of dollars a year just to stay connected. And the answer from the commissioner of the league, the face of the NBA, is if you can't afford it, too bad, just settle for highlight clips on social media. That's basically saying you are not worthy of the full experience. That is telling a massive portion of the fan base that they don't really matter. We have seen other commissioners in sports say some ridiculous things before. Roger Goodell in the NFL has had his fair share of comments that fans still roast him for today. Rob Manfred infamously called the World Series trophy a piece of metal after the Astros cheating scandal, and that line has stuck to him for years. But what Silver just said feels even worse because it's not about one team, one scandal, or one moment. It's about the fans. It's about all of us. This is the guy who's supposed to be the steward of the NBA, who's supposed to grow the game and make it more accessible, basically telling fans that unless you've got the money, you're not welcome. The reality is, most of us do not just want highlights. Highlights are great. They are flashy. They get shared on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, all over the place. But sports are not just about highlights. They're about the flow of the game, the defensive stops that never make it onto social media, the way a team battles back over the course of 4 quarters. They're about those long stretches where a star player struggles and has to figure it out. The drama and beauty of basketball lives in the entire game, not in a 30-second clip. Silver minimizing that and saying fans should be happy with bite-sized content is not just dismissive. It is dangerous for the future of the league. And honestly, the timing could not be worse. The NBA has been struggling with declining ratings, with fans complaining about load management, with constant debates about the product on the court. This is not a league that can afford to push fans away, and yet that is exactly what this comment does. It draws a line in the sand, separating the fans who can pay from the fans who cannot. That kind of elitist mindset is how you turn a global sport into something exclusive and unapproachable. If you look around at how sports leagues operate worldwide, accessibility is the key. Soccer thrives because kids can play it anywhere and watch it easily. The NFL dominates because fans can find games on free TV every single week. Baseball, even with its problems, still understands the value of tradition and fan access. And then you have the NBA commissioner basically saying the quiet part out loud. We only care about the fans who pay. That is not just bad optics. That is a potential disaster for the league's future. It also makes you wonder about where this is headed. Because if Silver is willing to say this out loud, what does that mean about the decisions being made behind the scenes? We already know the NBA has been chasing bigger and bigger TV deals, moving towards streaming partnerships, constantly looking for ways to squeeze more money out of media rights. That is fine for business, but it should never come at the cost of alienating the very people who fill arenas, who buy jerseys, who create the culture that makes the NBA what it is. Without the fans, there is no product. Without the fans, there is no reason for the NBA to even exist. And here is the part that really blows my mind. Silver has always been seen as the progressive commissioner, the guy who listens, the guy who connects. When he took over for David Stern, people thought the league was in safe hands. But now, with one careless statement, he has managed to shatter a lot of that goodwill. Instead of looking like the commissioner who cares about the fans, he now looks like someone who is totally out of touch. Someone who is treating the NBA like an exclusive club where only the people who can afford it are allowed in. Fans are not going to forget this. Comments like these stick. They become rallying cries. They fuel resentment every time a new broadcast deal gets announced, every time ticket prices go up, every time another star sits out for load management on national TV. People are going to look back and say, remember when Adam Silver basically told us we were too poor to matter? That is the kind of quote that haunts a commissioner's legacy. The crazy part is this all comes at the same time the Clippers are under investigation. The Kawhi Leonard situation is blowing up, and the league as a whole is already facing questions about integrity and fairness. Instead of being the steady voice who reassures fans, Silver just poured gasoline on the fire. It feels like a turning point. It feels like the first domino in a bigger shift that could eventually even cost him his job as commissioner. Because when you openly insult the fans, when you make them feel excluded, you're not just making a PR mistake. You're undermining the very foundation of the league. What really gets me is that the NBA has always prided itself on being global, inclusive, and accessible. It has always marketed itself as the league of the people, the league of culture, music, fashion, and young fans. This kind of statement cuts directly against that identity. It sends a message that the NBA is only for those who can pay the price. And if that is the direction Silver wants to push the league, he's going to find out very quickly that a lot of fans are not willing to come along for the ride. This is not just about one bad quote. This is about the bigger picture. It is about how the NBA sees itself and how it treats the people who support it. And right now, the message from the top is clear. If you cannot afford the rising costs, then you do not really matter. That is not only wrong, it is dangerous for the future of the game. Now, while everyone is still reeling from what Adam Silver said, the other storm brewing around the league might be just as explosive, and that is the situation with the Los Angeles Clippers and Kawhi Leonard. This whole investigation is not just about one player or one team bending the rules. It is about how deep certain practices have gone in the NBA and how far the league is willing to go to protect its own credibility. Reports have been swirling that what is happening with Kawhi has its roots all the way back to his time with the Toronto Raptors, when his camp was allegedly making outrageous demands tied to endorsements and financial benefits that had nothing to do with basketball. The Raptors quickly backed away because they realized this was not a road they wanted to go down. But the Clippers, desperate to land a superstar, were willing to take the risk. Now, years later, that risk looks like it could completely backfire. What makes this story so fascinating is how it ties into the Warriors. If Kawhi's contract were to be voided because of improprieties, that creates a ripple effect across the entire Western Conference. The Clippers built their franchise around Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, sinking an incredible amount of money and draft capital into a win-now roster. If Kawhi is removed from the equation, suddenly their entire structure collapses. That could open the door for Golden State to make a move, whether it is through a trade involving Jonathan Kuminga or simply by taking advantage of a weakened rival. The Clippers would have no choice but to fill the gap at forward, and the Warriors have players who could fit into that need. It sounds wild, but imagine for a moment the Clippers scrambling after losing Kawhi and the league giving the green light for other teams to negotiate. You could see Golden State stepping into that chaos and finding a way to turn it to their advantage. Maybe it is not a blockbuster. Maybe they do not land a star in return, but even getting a solid role player like John Collins or someone of that tier could fill a need for the Warriors. And when you're trying to maximize the championship window of Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson, every single move counts. The Warriors right now are in a delicate spot with Kuminga. He has made it clear he wants a contract that reflects his value, pointing to the deal Josh Giddey got from Chicago as a comparison. Giddey landed $100 million over 4 years, and Kuminga looks at himself and asks why he should not be in that same conversation. The difference, of course, is in play style. Giddey is a 6'8" playmaker who can orchestrate an offense, rebound, and create shots for teammates. Kuminga is more of an ISO scorer, an athletic slasher who could defend and rebound but still lacks the ability to consistently stretch the floor with his shooting or set others up as a true floor general. That is why teams are hesitant to hand him a long-term, big-money deal right now. Even Warriors legends have chimed in, with Tim Hardaway making the point that the franchise has never looked fully comfortable with Kuminga in their system. That is not about talent, because everyone can see Kuminga's potential. It is about fit. The Warriors' offense is built on ball movement, spacing, and players making quick reads. Kuminga often looks like he is on a different wavelength, needing the ball in isolation and not always knowing how to keep the flow alive. For Golden State, that is a problem. You can try to coach it, you can push a player to buy in, but at the end of the day, some styles just do not mix. Hardaway even suggested Kuminga might need to take the one-year qualifying offer, essentially betting on himself to prove his value. That is a risky move, because it signals to the league that there is no big market for you this summer, and it leaves you vulnerable heading into the next offseason. But at the same time, it could also light a fire under Kuminga. If he comes back with something to prove, if he pushes himself to be in the most improved player conversation, that changes everything. Suddenly, you have leverage. Suddenly, you can demand the contract you feel you deserve. The problem is, everything happening with the Clippers has the potential to complicate this. If the investigation widens, it will not just be Los Angeles under the microscope. The league is going to start looking at other teams' practices, and yes, that could include the Warriors. Endorsement deals, side arrangements, anything that looks like a no-show job for a star player is going to be scrutinized. That is dangerous because while every franchise does business behind the scenes, nobody wants their laundry aired out when the league is on high alert. The hope for Golden State is that this scandal stays focused on the Clippers, but the truth is you never really know how far the league will go once they start digging. And this is why timing matters. Right now, the Warriors' best play might actually be patience. While chaos swirls around the Clippers, while the commissioner is catching heat for his disastrous comments, Golden State has the luxury of silence. No headlines, no scandals, no controversies. That is a good place to be, because when every other team is dealing with bad press, the team that stays out of the news ends up looking stable, disciplined, and focused. But here's where it gets interesting. If Kawhi does get suspended, if his contract really does get voided, the Clippers will be desperate. They are built to win now, and with an aging roster, they cannot afford to waste time. That desperation could be the opening the Warriors need. Kuminga's value may not be what he thinks it is right now, but to a team with their back against the wall, he suddenly becomes a lot more appealing. Golden State could package him and get something useful in return, while also solving the long-term question of whether or not he truly fits in their system. The other angle here is psychological. Players around the league are watching how this all plays out. If the league comes down hard on Kawhi and his camp, banning his uncle and making an example of him, it is going to send a message to everyone else about what is and is not acceptable. That could make free agents think twice about certain negotiations, but it could also make younger players like Kuminga realize that you cannot just demand a massive deal without proving you belong in the system you are in. You have to adapt, you have to fit, you have to earn it. Before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Dubs updates. Let's keep going. Golden State is buzzing, and it's not just the usual roar of the Chase Center crowd. Something electrifying has hit the Bay Area. NIKOLA Jokic, the Serbian maestro of the hardwood, reportedly arrived at the Warriors' facility this week, and whispers are turning into full-blown excitement. Fans gathered outside caught glimpses of the reigning MVP, flanked by cameras and a small entourage, stepping into the arena as if the city itself had rolled out the red carpet. The energy was palpable. Chants of his name mingled with flashes from smartphones, creating a scene that looked more like a rock concert than a basketball practice. Inside, sources close to the team suggest that Jokic's arrival has already shaken up the locker room atmosphere. Players were reportedly seen exchanging wide-eyed smiles, with some daringly predicting that the Serbian star could be the final piece to transform Golden State into an unstoppable force. Even the coaching staff seems energized, with an insider hinting at new strategies and schemes in the works, likely tailored to maximize Jokic's unique blend of size, vision, and uncanny basketball IQ. But the excitement isn't just on the court. Local businesses near the arena are rumored to be planning Jokic-themed events, with cafes, sports bars, and even pop-up merchandise stands preparing to capitalize on the frenzy. Social media is ablaze, with fans debating everything from his fit alongside Steph Curry to whether this move signals a historic shift in the NBA's power balance. Some analysts are cautiously optimistic, suggesting that pairing Jokic's unselfish style with Golden State's high-octane offense could be the start of something never before seen in basketball. While nothing has been officially confirmed, the buzz is undeniable. Every news snippet of information, an Instagram story, a cryptic tweet from a teammate, a subtle nod from the front office, feeds speculation and fuels the fire. Golden State fans who have seen their fair share of surprises are now daring to dream bigger, imagining a season where Jokic's wizardry combines with Curry's sharpshooting, creating an offense that might just rewrite NBA history. For now, it's all rumor, but one thing is certain. The Warriors' world has suddenly become a lot more thrilling, and the anticipation is driving fans into a frenzy the likes of which the Bay Area hasn't seen in years. Stay updated exclusively with the latest Dub Nation news. Subscribe to our channel and hit the like button to keep getting daily updates on the Warriors. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments. Your input is essential for the Dubs community. Stay tuned for the next video.